Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And I think the theme for today is things did not go as planned. It just hasn't, really, since I saw you last, nothing's really gone the way I planned. I don't know. It started out with, I left the last vlog saying that I think we're going to forego the Christmas show this year, and I think that's true. I think we are going to not have the Christmas show this year. Partly because I'm just stressed. I can't keep up. There's so much going on, but the other guys seem to be in the same boat. Beverly's dealing with a lot of issues with her mother, and there's going to be some operations and different things. And Gary's having all kinds of issues health-wise. And it seems like the COVID thing's coming back, making a comeback. And every other person I've met around here has alpha gal now. That seems like that's the new fad, alpha gal. If you don't know what that is, that's that tick-borne disease where you can't eat red meat. Trust me, I don't want that one. If I got alpha gal, it wouldn't be very long. Maybe a month or two. You probably would never see me again. That would kill me. I mean, if I couldn't eat meat. But then again, apparently you can still eat chicken and fish and stuff, so I could probably still survive. But boy, that would really suck, because I already don't eat vegetables, which is half of what everybody else eats, at least half, if not 3/4 of what everybody else eats. So I don't eat that at all. And then if I couldn't eat red meat, yeah, it just wouldn't be worth living at that point. Anyway, to maybe sort of make it up to you for not having a Christmas show this year, I don't know if you've watched Life in 3D or not, but Life in 3D is two brothers and a sister. And I've been watching them for on and off for a couple years, and maybe even longer than that. And they are really good singers. I mean, all three of them are just top-notch singers. They just are on pitch. And the girl has an exceptional voice. They don't show her off as much as they should, I don't think, but she's got an exceptional voice. And the other two boys are really good singers on top of that. So, I mean, you put the three together, and they're hard to beat. Well, I put a link in the description of What Child Is This? This is just I think they just released it yesterday or today, video. What Child Is This? I think you'll really like it if you listen to them. And listen particularly to their harmony, and especially the girl's voice. You can hear her particular harmony in this song really well. Very, very good. Well, Saturday, the way things didn't go the way I planned, I was expecting to finish up my paperwork pretty early Saturday morning and get on to other things. That didn't work out. It took all morning to finish up the paperwork and get everything balanced. And I'm finally caught up, or at least I was as of Saturday. And got caught up with email and all that. I had planned then to get on to making the video on how to weld and so on and so forth. Well, that didn't work out either, because I needed to get some more wood split, and I was going to take the Bobcat up on the hill, and that shouldn't have taken me very long. But as soon as I got in the Bobcat and hooked up the wood splitter, it quit running. And it just quit running. It would run for not even 5 minutes. It would run for about a minute, and then it would die. Just like I need one more thing. Well, then I remembered I haven't changed the filters and all the oil and all that for a while. I was behind schedule on that by a couple of months. Not that it really matters, because we don't use it enough to matter that much. And, I basically change everything annually. Well, anyway, I was behind it by a month or two. And so I decided, well, I'll get that done. So I started working on that and got all that done, and it didn't fix it. It still, was dying after just a minute or so. I found that there was a lot of water in the fuel filter, so I thought, well, maybe that was what was causing it. Well, it wasn't what was causing it. It's throwing a couple of error codes, and then it dies. Well, one of the error codes was about hydraulic pressure, and I thought there's one more filter down in the guts of this thing that I've never changed, and it's like the hydraulic tank filter. Different people call it different things, sump filter and all kinds of stuff. Well, anyway, I started trying to get to that, to take that apart. Now, keep in mind, by this time, many hours have passed because it takes a while to do all the service on this thing. Well, now I'm trying to change that filter, thinking that might be the root of the problem. Well, you got to take apart a bunch of stuff and take a whole bunch of hoses off, and every hose starts leaking. Well, it just got to be too much, and so I put it all back together. And JR about that time was saying, you need to take it over to this guy. This guy's really good, his friend. And I can't even think of the guy's name right now, to be honest with you. But anyway, he just kept after me that I should take it because it has all kinds of issues. It's not just this one issue of it dying. There's a rear roller that's bad on the machine that I know how to fix, and you have to take the track off, and it's a real big job, and I was going to fix that. There's another lift cylinder that's leaking that needs to be taken. First of all, you got to remove the cylinder. Then secondly, you got to take the cylinder apart and then replace all the seals. And I know how to do that. I was going to do that too. And then another thing that happened about a year ago, I cleaned the insides of the Bobcat out a lot. There was a lot of grease and oil down in the bowels of it and everything, and dirt and everything. So I cleaned all that out. Well, after I cleaned all that out, the fuel indicator quit, and it don't indicate anymore. And then, let's see, on top of that, if that ain't enough, I noticed that one of the final drive motors, back at the big sprocket, if you look at the center hub, it was leaking a little bit. So with all that in mind, JR kept saying, you need to take it to this guy, have him do it. I said, well, yeah, I guess you're right, I do, because I can't keep up with all this stuff. Plus, I'm not getting to all the other things I want to do, So anyway, typical my luck, we get the trailer out. Well, it's got 2 flat tires on it. So I had to fix all that. It's like I can't ever just do one thing. That never works. So anyway, by the time we got all that done, that killed all of yesterday pretty much. And so that brings me to this morning. Well, this morning I thought, now maybe I can go ahead and do this welding video. So I decided to do that, and I thought, I'll use my Arc Captain welder and just feature it again in the sense that they sent it to me. Now, keep in mind, I don't owe them anything else. I already did the video on it. So, but on the other hand, I like the welder enough that I thought, hey, it's a good beginner welder for anybody that wanted to start welding. Is perfect. It fits the video perfectly. So I used that welder, and I didn't really talk about the welder all that much. I just mentioned it a time or two, and then went on about the actual how to weld and all that. Well, then I also included that I was going to, at the end of the video, then show the new plasma cutter they sent me. Well, that didn't go as planned. As I started using the new plasma cutter, this was after I did the whole thing on the welding, so you don't even have to watch the plasma cutter part if you don't want to, because all the tips and everything are all encapsulated in one spot, And then I thought, at the end of that, I'll tack on about this plasma cutter. So sure enough, I do that, and I get the plasma cutter rolling and everything, and I show it coming out of the box and putting it together and hooking it up. And when I start cutting with it, it just instantly ruins the the tip on the plasma cutter. Well, unbeknownst to me, it's not the same kind of plasma cutter that I already have. Now, keep in mind, I didn't look at the book. I don't like to look at books when I test products because I want them to be intuitive and you know how to use them, you know, that kind of thing. Well, sure enough, it's not a what they call a pilot arc plasma cutter. It's one that you touch, you have to make contact, and then you lift up. Well, I didn't know that, and apparently that caused the tip to burn up because I didn't know that. But fortunately, they sent an extra spare tip with it, and so I put that on there, and it does work. But now I'm trying to decide how am I going to salvage the whole video because it just turned into a mess. So I haven't looked at the video yet to see how much of it I can salvage and what I'll have to reshoot and whatever. I don't know. It just didn't go as planned. That's all I can tell you. It's just been crazy since I saw you last. There hasn't been one thing that's gone the way it should have. It's just not one thing. It's not easy being me. Do you ever hear that? It's just crazy. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Well, anyway, the video, if I can get this thing produced, it's going to be called Common Sense Arc Welding for Newbies. And, you know, there's going to be all kinds. Welding is another one of those things that's super snobbish. I mean, like everybody's going to be on there just telling me I did it wrong and you're not doing this and you're not doing that. They're all going to want to baffle you with their brilliance and befuddle you with their bull you-know-what. And I just keep it simple and just show how simple it can be. And it's really actually very simple. It's not that difficult to weld at all. And there's only about 3 or 4 things you got to know. And if you know those 3 or 4 things, you're pretty much good to go. So anyway, that's the way I approached the video. And I'm going to, knock on wood, I'm going to try to edit that yet this afternoon. Who knows if that'll work. I really do need to get out and get some more wood cut and split. But right now I can't split anything because the big Bobcat's in the shop. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm just going to have to go cut something else that don't need to be split, I guess. Because that big red oak back there, it definitely needs to be split. I can't move it the way it is. Let's see, what else? I guess that's it. I don't have any video for you this morning, unfortunately, because nothing went like it was planned. So let's go to the comments and see where we're at. Rod Wentler, good morning, Jerry and friends. And then he says, Jerry, I'm glad it's the skid steer in the hospital and not you. Well, you're not half as glad as I am. Boy, I tell you what, it's just been a rough way to go. Dottie says, I'm glad it's the skid steer. Yep, well, thank you. And she's praying for us. What did y'all think about the Syria thing? I'm glad to see the dictator gone. I hate dictators, man. I just can't stand the guys. So I'm glad that happened. I don't know where it's going to go. Sometimes it goes from bad to worse, so you just never know where it's going from there. But at least he's gone. Let's see. What else? Daddy says, may not be here tomorrow. I have dental surgery in the morning. Ugh. Well, good luck to you. Donald Matthews says, I hope Itchy Boots stays away from Syria. She was close to the border. Well, I was kind of surprised she's going to Iraq. Isn't that crazy? Going to Iraq. For some reason, I just didn't expect that one. But I don't know. Syria sounds like it would be worse right now anyway. What a mess. Tom says, please don't get run over by a skid steer. Well, that would not make your day. I guarantee you, you would not like that. Let's see. Bill, after we went live, Bill Webb says, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. SSD Blig? B-L-I-G? I've never seen that name before, I don't think. Been watching Jerry for years, but kind of new to the midday chat. Well, glad you're here. Daddy, excuse me. Daddy says, I'm going to miss the concert. I understand. Yeah, I'd kind of miss it too, but there's all kinds of reasons, honestly, why I'm kind of dragging my feet on it this year. Let's see. Rod Wentler, Jerry, it sounds like the welding video is just what I had hoped for. Pucker paralysis. Yeah. Well, I really do think I made the points I wanted to make, and I do show you the things you need to know to get it going, you know, and I think I even kind of, I didn't put it in those words about the paralysis type problem that a lot of people have, but I think I did kind of explain it in a different way, you know. Gary Hayes says, let's see, too many irons in the fire. Yeah, you got that right. Bo Horn says, hey, Jerry, I have Thulium welder that works great. It's a stick MIG combo. Yeah. Well, that little welder that I'm showing off, now I'm only showing the stick welding on it this time. But it is also very capable, and I have used it for wire feed, flux core wire feed welding, and it does that really well. It doesn't, it's called a MIG 145, and, pretty much any wire feed welder people call a MIG welder, but I think the true MIG welder is a gas-fed welder. I mean, you do have to have gas on true MIG welding. Otherwise, it's flux core welding. And so it does that really well. It does the stick really well and the flux core welding really well. And that little welder will also do lift, start, TIG. Now, I am not a good TIG welder, so I doubt I'll get to the TIG welding aspects for a beginner because I don't think I should. I mean, I'm not that good of a TIG welder. But I do really well with the flux core welding. And a lot of people think the flux core welding is really the easiest kind of welding there is. But I thought I would start off with just your common stick welding first in this first video. And if it goes over fairly well, then I'll probably put out yet another one, probably using the same welder and showing how you can do the flux core MIG type welding with it also. Because that's really very easy. MIG welding is probably easier than even standard stick welding. Anyway, all that to say, there may be another video coming. Ronald Todd, I'm starting to worry about itchy boots riding around the Middle East. Yeah, it just does kind of make you wonder, doesn't it? Bill Mumbo, we can watch last year's concert. Well, good. Dottie Hildebrand, what was the name of the group you mentioned? It's called Life in 3D. It's two brothers and a sister. For the longest time, I didn't know how they were related, but then I saw some video somewhere that explained it. And it's two brothers and a sister. And I'm seriously telling you, they're really good voices. They're good voices. They really sing well. They really do. And if you go back and watch some of their past videos, some of them are just flat awesome. There's several of them I don't much care for because mostly it's the song, but what they do with the music is really, really good. And their harmonies are just incredible. Life in 3D is the name of their group. Ronald Todd, JR has new harnesses for the horses. Maybe it's time to hook them up and pull some wood off the hills. Yeah, we're going to do that eventually, but I don't think he wants to tackle that big log, number one, and number two, it's a pretty steep hill. I'm seriously telling you, it wouldn't probably be the wisest thing to start on. After the horses he was used to the team and the team was used to each other, etc., then maybe so. But right now, it's probably not the best place to start. Hugh O'Connor, there's a similarity between welding and soldering despite the different sizes in that you get widely different advice, or should that be BS? Yeah. Well, it's just like anything. You can take it to any level you want to take it to. And I allude to that a little bit in my welding video, in that, you can certainly go a lot further with this. I'm just saying the average guy that just needs to stick two pieces of steel together, just do these few things and it'll work. That's all you got to do, just these few things. There's 3 or 4 things, and that's it. And it'll work. It'll just work. And the only thing that you need after that is just practice. You just practice with it a little bit, and you'll get better at it. Probably the biggest mistake that I see whenever I'm showing somebody how to weld, the biggest thing I see them try to do is go too fast. They try to, they get the arc going, and they get a little excited because that arc's going, and they're trying to go too fast. Well, you just calm down. There's going to be an arc, and just hold it there, and just slightly rotate it, and just move it back slow, and just move it back slow. Now, if you start burning through, I tried to explain this as common sense welding. So common sense says if you're burning through, you're either too hot or you're moving too slow. It's just one of those two things, pretty much black and white, So it's just common sense, and it's a short video. It's not going to be real long, but it'll show you the few things that you need to do to weld and be successful at welding. Do I think I'm an expert? Not at all. Not even close. Do I think I can weld well enough to do 90% of the projects that ever came through my door? Yeah, well enough to do that, if not all of them. But that doesn't make you an expert. It just makes you that you can stick two pieces of metal together. There's a lot more to know if you want to get that to that level, like certain kinds of properties of certain kinds of metal with certain kinds of rod and certain kinds of things. And I do know some of that, but I don't know it even close to all of it. Let's see. Yeah, Eddie says MIG welding is metal inert gas. Yeah, that's what I mean. When you talk about true MIG welding, you're generally using gas with it. It's still called MIG welding, I guess, when you're doing flux core, but I like to just consider it and call it flux core wire feed welding. Just that's what I call it, just because that's what it is. You're not using the gas. But I like that kind of welding because you don't have to have the gas, and you can take it anywhere. You can go outside and you can weld in the wind. When you got gas, it's different. Gas doesn't like wind. Ronald, can you make your splitter for the skid steer work on your excavator? Not really. It's too heavy. It's heavy. It's probably at least twice as heavy as the one I was trying to build for the excavator, and quite honestly, it's as heavy as the excavator wants. I'm glad it's the weight it is. It's fine the weight it is, but if it was 10 pounds heavier, it would almost be too much. It's that close to being too much. And the other one's way heavier, so it's not a chance it would work very well. I mean, you could make it work, physically work, but you can't lift it and move it around real well. Is the problem. Now, I can actually make it work with the mini skid steer. I've already done that. I've actually made it work with it, but I'm not even sure if the mini skid steer will pick it up well and carry it around well. I didn't pick it up. I just made it work, operate. It'll operate the darn thing, but getting it moved around is the problem. The big skid steer doesn't care. That thing, it would move 5 times that much weight. It doesn't. It's really powerful, the big skid steer. SSD Blig says something in there, and I lost it. I was going to learn to weld, but hide glued still does okay for me. Yeah, well, okay. Just knock yourself out. Natty Hillebrand says, welding starts with metal preparation, I think. Yeah, and I did cover that a little bit too. And I tell you about the welding preparation, the way I covered it was, you should do something. To me, it's more like a minimal amount of preparation that needs to be done. Now, if you're going into TIG welding or aluminum welding or some specialty welding, well then sure, preparation is everything. But on just welding two pieces of steel together, preparation is pretty minimal. As long as it's relatively clean, you maybe take a wire brush, knock the heavy rust off, you're good to go. It'll work. In all the years that I saw my dad weld, and I saw him weld a lot, I am not making this up. I'm not just saying it to be self-serving or to prove my point. I'm just telling you this is a fact. I never saw him one single time clean anything. He just put it together and started welding. He didn't give a rip. Now, I typically do clean it a little bit. I don't spend a lot of time cleaning it, but I clean it a little bit. And that's what I'm trying to show in this common sense, basic welding thing, is that it's not as, I don't know. If you watch these elitists do it on YouTube, they're very precise about everything, and everything's a detail, and it's not like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Let me just explain it that way. Well, anyway, Ronald Todd, stirring the pot with the hide glue. Hide the hide glue comment. I don't mind. Like I've said, hide glue really truly was, and I'm not saying this to be cynical. I'm saying it because it's true. It really truly was the best glue you could get for hundreds of years. It was the best. But it's not anymore. In fact, it's not even close to the best anymore. But the traditionalists still swear by it, and they think it has to be that. Ronald Todd says, thumbs up, everybody. I appreciate that. SSD says, no more hide glue jokes, I promise. Look, I don't have anything against hide glue. What I try to explain, the reason I always come out opposed to hide glue is because people need to understand it's not a black and white that you have to use hide glue. And there's so many myths around it that everybody thinks you can't take the other glues apart. The other glues will wreck your sound. Oh, give me a break. It's just wrong. All those myths that have been associated with hide glue are black and white, 100% wrong. They're just wrong. They're not even sort of close to being right. They're wrong. And I've proved it dozens and dozens and dozens of times on my videos. Because you can take, in fact, I guarantee you, absolutely 100% guarantee you, you can take Titebond Original apart easier on average, not always 100%, but on average, you can take that glue apart on average easier than you can take hide glue apart. Because as soon as you get a little moisture in there with some steam, that Titebond will just come apart. The Titebond comes apart really easy with steam. Hide glue doesn't always do that. It does most of the time, but it doesn't always do it. And sometimes it's like you still got to get a jackhammer in there and take it apart. And anyway, the thing about the hide glue, I think, was, and I've said this before too, one of the most important things about hide glue for me was that it's not consistent. One batch of hide glue is one way, the next batch of hide glue is another way. One of them will stick like concrete, and the next one falls apart when you look at it wrong, So that's the thing I don't like about hide glue more than anything. It's not consistent at all. All right. Enough said about that. But you need to say that every once in a while so people, because there's new people out there too that think hide glue is everything. Sorry, it isn't. It's not even real good anymore. Comparatively, it's not even real good anymore. But you can't you can never convince those dyed-in-the-wool good old boys club. You'll never convince them of that. Let's see. SSD says, I think I'll concentrate on double truss rods instead. Yep. Yeah, he says he's watched me a lot. Well, I can tell you have. Yeah. Yeah, those double acting or the two-way truss rods, they suck canal water worse than just about anything, in my opinion. And it wouldn't be a problem at all if people knew how to use them. That's where the problem is people don't know how to use them, and they turn them the wrong way. That's the reason they suck canal water. I mean, the fact that they do both doesn't hurt my feelings at all. You never need the other one, though. So why even bother? You never need the other one. I mean, and I've heard people argue with me and tell me why they need the other one. And I always say, well, that's not the way you should fix it. You should fix it a different way, and then you don't need it, you know? And so anyway, I rest my case on that one also. Because that two-way truss rod just does suck canal water. Again, mostly because people don't do it the right way. They turn it wrong every time. And you would think, surely they don't, but they do. I don't know why they do. They just do. And 8 out of 10 of them that came in with two-way truss rods were turned the wrong way. And Caleb was there to witness it. So it's not just me talking. Ronald Todd, as I heard somewhere, hide glue sucks canal water. Tom Armstrong, be careful with super glue around your fingers. Experience is a good teacher. Yeah. I've told that story a gazillion times too. This was before I even moved my shop down here to what I call the new shop, you know, because up on where the rental retreat is now, that was my original shop. And when I was in that shop, in my early days of using hide glue inside the instrument, at that time I never really had used hide glue much on the instruments. I just never did. When I said hide glue, didn't I? I meant CA glue. Golly, now I'm all messed up. I had never used CA glue much on the inside of an instrument. Well, when I was up there, and one day I thought, well, this would be a perfect use for the CA glue. Well, I glued my finger inside the guitar, and it took me 20 minutes to get my hand out of that guitar. And I'm not kidding. It took that long, and it was painful the whole time, too. So that's why I started wearing gloves. Anytime I had to use CA glue inside a guitar, from that point on, I always wore those gloves. And that way, if it glued to the glove, at least I could get my hand out. Newton's, our Bo says, hey, Jerry, been playing and leading music at church. Christmas hymns are the most difficult to play. Boy, that is the truth. You know, maybe that's what we'll do Thursday evening. We'll play along with some Christmas songs, and I'll show you how tough they are. There's some tough ones, man. They're they're not the easiest songs to play. So if I can remember to do this Thursday evening, we'll have our first play along. So I better put a reminder in my phone as soon as we're done here. Otherwise, I'll forget it for sure. But guys, that's going to be it. Thank you for being here. We will see you tomorrow with something else. Hopefully, I'll have some video for you tomorrow. Maybe things will go a little better between now and then. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for being here.